All righty. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started while folks are still getting signed in, just to make sure that we have plenty of time today for the demos that we are going to be seeing. I'm really excited to welcome you to our Q2 2024 customer webinar. We have some great new features to show you. This is going to be a really exciting webinar where we are lucky to have our product manager on to show us everything that is new and coming within Ingage. So let's go ahead and dive on into our agenda today. While Alan is moving the page, just so you all know, we are recording this session. So if you are unable to stay for the whole session, if you arrive late, if you have colleagues or friends who are unavailable today, that's all right. We're going to be emailing this out within 24 hours of this session. All right, Alan, let's dive in. So we have a great program today. We're going to be talking about all these updates. I want to take a second, though, and make sure that you all know who Alan is. Alan, can you go to your bio and introduce yourself? If you haven't been on our webinars before, Alan Davis is our product manager. Alan, can you tell the folks who you are outside of the context of one of our summer camp or ski chalet sessions?
Yeah, without the sunglasses and the whistle on. So as a product manager here at Engage, it's really my role to be the voice of the customer, to the engineering and our development teams, and really kind of understanding, what kind of problems are out there and how we can really start to address and meet those needs. So I'm really excited. There's a number of problems we've solved, and our engineering team is really excited about the work we've done in the last quarter. And I got some really neat things to show you guys today. Going to be a lot of live demos and a little sneak peek of some things to come in the future. So don't go away too quickly.
Wonderful. So during the course of this content, if you have any questions today, please feel free to use that Q&A functionality. It's at the bottom of your screen. When you run your mouse over the page, you'll see Q&A. Go ahead and ask them there. That way I can flag things that we're going to want Alan to answer live. I can flag things that we may want to type answers to, and we can also save things that they're really specific to make sure that we follow up with your account manager after this content. So Alan, take it away. What do we got going on?
Yes. So let's get kicked off here. I mean, I think we're all here to talk about Engage and really some of the wonderful things we can do, with the product. And as I've talked about, I've spent a lot of time over the last, really almost 2 years I've been here, talking to a lot of customers and really helping to focus in our product development strategy to really begin bring features that kind of more align together and begin to really put releases that allow you to build off each other. We can't do everything that we want every time, but we really try very hard to put out those features that are high value, solving the most pertinent problems. And as I mentioned, some of those are what we'll be showing today. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, our publishing workflow. Now, Pam, I know you're pretty excited about this one as well.
Very excited. This is a game changer for any marketing department.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is really addressing a lot of the needs for what we've heard from our designers and our content creators out there. There was basically, design it and then publish it. You really hadn't had any choices until we added this feature. And this feature is more than just a feature. It's kind of a platform philosophy as well as we think about things moving forward. This is just the tip of the iceberg for some of the functionality we're thinking about when it comes to managing and publishing your content within the system. So who is this feature for? I'd really like to make sure we identify, the personalities or the personas that we're going after with some of this functionality. So everyone benefits from the feature, but really who we're focusing in on are those designers and really those folks that are managing content out there. One of the biggest problems I heard was the fact that it's very difficult to make copies of presentations, update presentations, get feedback on presentations. So what we're really trying to do is reduce all the friction and all the challenges that are around trying to kind of build updates and push those updates out to the field. And this is really, we'll see in just a minute, really designed around being able to have two versions of the presentation, one that's published, meaning that everyone's working on, and one that's in draft mode, meaning you work behind the scenes, adjust content, update things, review it, test it, and most importantly, when you're ready to push it out, a single click of the button will push it out to both your client users as well as anyone on the web as well.
Yeah, thinking about this from a marketing perspective, like how often am I creating content or editing content that someone else is going to use? Yeah. And I need to get feedback from that person or from, that team's leader before I want to push it out into the field for folks to be using. This is really a game changer with that workflow to make sure everything's approved before it goes out the door.
Yeah. So let's take a look about how your workflow changes. So when is basically today. We released this functionality yesterday, and it's available live in all platforms, wherever you're doing editing today, both either the desktop, as you're seeing here on my system, or also on the iPad as well. And as I mentioned, what it's really designed to do is give you access to being able to save a version in a draft mode and still have a published mode out there. So we're sitting in my Engage on the desktop on my Mac right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a couple different scenarios for you. We've already got a presentation up and running, so maybe I want to make a quick tweak to this. And let me show you how the workflow is changed a bit, but really hasn't slowed you down at all. So let's go ahead and update our company story here. I'm going to go ahead and click on my edit button here. And I'm just going to very simply go ahead and change some content on the first page. Maybe after downloading this template and using it for a while, we felt like, hey, we want to be a little more personal. We want to change some of the content here a little bit. So nothing major. We're just going to have a slightly different text down at the bottom. We just want to kind of, up here in Maine, we like to welcome people into our homes, right? So we're just going to change that text a bit. And that's wonderful. I can make any changes, modifications, and the system is monitoring those changes for me. And as you're seeing in the upper right-hand corner here, we have a new sharing area in the inspector for the presentation. The sharing area is really designed to focus on two main needs. One is the functionality we're talking about here, where if I've made a change, when do I want to publish that change? And do I also want to publish that change out to the web? So I have the ability, as you know, to share via web links as well as directly within the application. And prior to this functionality being released, both those features kind of worked independent of each other. Now we've tied them together. No longer will you have a web link that's out of date with a published version. So the two work hand in hand now. You can certainly turn off the web link and do some things with it differently. But at the end of the day, we saw a lot of problems where people weren't keeping things in sync and had outdated versions of presentations. So that really helps with that process as well. Now, I could go ahead and try to go back to the storyboard here like I normally would, and we're going to give you a few instructions here to help you along the way. We're letting you know that, hey, you do have the opportunity to publish this change if you'd like to right now, or save as a draft. Now, seeing how there's a pretty minor change, I'm going to simply just publish it out as a draft. So my workflow really hasn't changed as far as I'm concerned right now. I made a change to the presentation, and immediately I was able to send it out to the field to get it updated. So that's the first mode. What we're really interested in doing is, what if we really wanted to make a real big change to this? And how does this affect people out in the field? And how can I work through that process? What if my Hoyt Renovators was getting into a whole new realm of business? We're getting into solar roofs now. So what I'd love to be able to do is now kind of update and modify my presentation to have a lot more content available with it. So I'm going to go ahead into our services. I'm just going to grab a template that I've already prepared that adds our solar roofs to this. I'm going to go ahead and make a quick change here to go ahead and link it to the appropriate presentation here, solar, and everything's good. So I'm working away as a designer, and hey, it's 5 o'clock. I want to go home now. I don't want to publish all my changes. I'm not ready to push this out the door yet. I want to kind of, go through some reviews tomorrow, maybe go through some other cleanup. So at this point, instead of just going ahead and publishing the changes either manually, when I back out of the presentation, I'm going to save this as a draft. And what we're going to see is on the list of presentations here, I've indicated that not only is this presentation editable, it's also as a draft. And when the last time it was edited is visible here as well. So that's a little bit about how that whole process works from the designer's perspective. If we look at it from a viewer's perspective, and I'm going to slide over one more time here. I have a viewer in my iPad here. And as you can see, he does not see that, just sees the last published version, and everything is happy as can be here. So if he goes to view this presentation, he's not going to see any of the new content added in. So for example, if I look at our services here, it's still the old page because I'm still viewing that old presentation or the original presentation. When I go back and actually go to publish this change, so if we've gone through our reviews internally and I want to go ahead and either view the change or edit the change, when I go to double click to edit, I can either view the draft or view the published version. I'm going to go ahead and just cancel this. I'm going to go ahead and just edit this out. And I'm going to go ahead and publish that change. So now it's telling me, hey, yes, I want to go ahead and publish this now. It's going to be available to everybody. I'll go back to my storyboard here and back to the list of presentations. So that draft is no longer there. But of course, if I go back to my viewer now, and I go ahead and click on that, we're going to see the update come out. Oops, my wrong mouse here. And there's that updated page immediately. So you recall, we sync presentations automatically. So as soon as I publish that, anybody that's online got the new version of the presentation, and now I'm off and running with that new version. So just pause there real quick, Pam. Is that making sense? Is this relevant to the kinds of things that you're seeing in the field as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are always looking for easier ways to do things. They're always
Yeah.
looking for fewer clicks. How can
Okay.
I do the same thing I was doing before with fewer clicks? And this gets you there. So I think the big thing to remember and to just share out with all of our colleagues and friends who are creating on Engage is that they do not need to make copies of presentations anymore. They do not need to be doing all of those kind of like backdoor tactics to be able to edit content without pushing out the update. We now have functionality for that. You don't have to worry about it.
And you mentioned something really critical there about making copies of presentations. And that really is a segue into the next section here about analytics. But something that happens when you change or copy a presentation is you will basically create a brand new presentation. Just because it's the same name doesn't mean it's the same content or things like
Mhm.
that. So it gets tracked and measured as a separate presentation. So if I update my company story with using the draft mode, I'm always maintaining all those analytics against that one version, as opposed to having multiple versions now that I have to kind of think about how to pull all those analytics together. The second critical piece, if anyone's using, and we'll talk about this a little bit later as well, any of our links or deep links, these links will change. If you're linking these presentations to external systems or something out there as well, a new presentation will generate a new link. So not only is this giving you the benefit of being able to work more efficiently as a designer, being able to go through a review process, it's also maintaining the integrity of the links as well as the analytics behind the scenes. So a pretty critical thing to think about as you're maturing your methodology with the sales enablement capabilities.
Yep. Again, fewer clicks to do everything you want to do. You don't need to go in and change anything. It's really, really handy.
Stuff. So cool. So again, for all of our managers of content out there, designers, feel free to make as many changes as you like, but just don't be copying presentations anymore. Certainly, there's needs to do that, but we really want to see this feature take off. I've got some measurement behind the scenes. I can see how many times you guys are editing versus copying, and I'm going to keep you honest along the way here.
Alan's on top of us, making sure that we're following the rules.
Yeah. And it's again, great segue into what we do, right? So we talk about create, share, and measure. That's what we live and breathe here as well. As a product manager, I'm always looking to what functionality is being utilized, how it's being utilized, how can we do better. So analytics and measurements are something that's just core to my being in my role. And what I wanted to do for this session is some really interesting things we've done with the analytics, but I also wanted to provide a little bit of an education session around kind of the whole concept of a session and a view. As I've talked to more folks about analytics, and we'd love to do some more things with different kinds of reporting here, there's some fundamental understandings just about how the system works and how we can properly get the information we're looking for and then interpret it appropriately within the system. So let me slide back over to my presenter here. And I'm going to go ahead and just click into the manage button here, which is going to take me into Teams. I could go there directly with a browser as well if I chose to. But what we're looking at really, the fundamentals, is the whole idea about making these session reports more meaningful, right? How do I make sure that what I've defined a session as being something of value to me? And now at Engage, we define a session as one or more presentations being viewed in one effectively session, meaning I've gone to and opened up a presentation. I may have viewed multiple presentations by clicking open presentation links, but I've never gone back to the storyboard again and selected another presentation. So for example, if I was looking at this from my viewer's perspective, if I went and opened up my company story here and went through the presentation, went through, clicked on our services, maybe took a look at the roofing presentation, maybe went back again and looked at the siding presentation. All of this is one session until I get back to the storyboard, if you will, go back and close that presentation. Everything I just did from opening the company story to closing the company story, that's defined as a session. That's what's being tracked if I swipe back over here on the sessions report, on opening and closing of the presentation and everything that was done in between. Right. And that's critically important because it's really the connection you have with that customer session. You had a customer meeting. So think about a session aligning with a customer meeting where you can have the opportunity to see exactly what was done during that particular session. So, for example, if I look at, let's find the one down the list here I was playing with earlier. Let's go to the next page. I had, yeah, like this example here. When we're looking at our sessions view or our kind of our subway map, this is kind of what I just showed you. This is one I did a little bit earlier, but it shows me launching that presentation. So that's the beginning of the session. And then as I've gone through the session, I'm opening and closing pages, but there's the open presentation, right? So I'm linking from one presentation to another and launching yet another presentation. So within the session, we've used our roofing presentation. We've used the company story presentation. We've used the Windows presentation. All those things are getting tracked as presentation views as well as session views. Here's where things get a little confusing because what happens is people will come in and they'll take a look at the content report. The content report's really designed to give you the visibility to just what presentations are being used. So for example, I'll go to my approved guys here, filter this by team, and you'll see that we've got the company story and I can see all the other individual presentations as well. Anytime I'm tracking analytics, if I open up the company story and then I open up another presentation, I'm also counting that presentation as well. So opening up home improvement and linking to the roofing is going to show a view for the roofing as well as a show for the home improvement company story. Or if I show roofing individually, right, it's going to show that as an individual account. So we're counting presentation views in the content versus reviewing what was being shown to the customer in the sessions world. So it's something we fundamentally want to get across because what happens after this is people want more context. Tell me about who that customer was. Do we win or lose the deal? Who was the customer that we presented to? So there's a lot more we can do, but understanding how we can track and compartmentalize the viewer's activity in the field is one of the critical things we need to make sure people are aware of.
Yeah, I think session equals what happened in the sale. I think that's how like I'm going to go about remembering it. If I want to know what happened during the course of the sale, I'm going to look at a session report
Right.
versus looking at content, which is where if I want to go see what kind of pages are getting a lot of play, what presentations are getting a lot of play, I'm
Right.
going to go to content. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. So yeah, and so when we were designing this, we talked to a lot of different types of our personas out there. And the sessions was all around I'm the sales manager. Got to have a virtual ride along. Got to understand what people are doing, what they're showing, what they're working, what's not working. The content was all around, the content managers and designers. Show me who's using what the most. Maybe people are using a presentation more than I think or less than I think. Those are all good things to get feedback on. Maybe how long they're spending time viewing certain things. That animation was fantastic. Picture's worth 1,000 words and animation's worth 1,000 pictures, right? So those kinds of things you can start tracking through the content side of the world. The other thing I want to touch on, this is going into some of the new things we've done here and talk about some demonstrations with some integrations here, is how do I add some more context to the analytics? As I mentioned before, understanding what a session is important, but how do I define a session that I was at Pam's house, or I was at Morgan's house, or I was at Olivia's house, right? So how do I break all that down and align the activities or the interactions I had with that particular user? That's all done in the system through the use of tags. Now, a tag is something you can use today. If I was a customer, if you will, or a viewer out here, I can go ahead and get the share links for things, and I can add analytics tags in here, like the name of the customer, and then go ahead and copy this, and then share it, and do all kinds of crazy stuff to it. That doesn't really lend itself well to a usability standpoint, Pam, right? We talked to a lot of our viewers out there, talked to a lot of the sales managers who wanted this content, but said, look, that's too much for my users out there. And we definitely agree on the product side as well. So the first thing we need to think about with respect to, how do we add additional context to the interactions you're having with Engage is where is that context coming from? In most cases, there's a third-party system you're working with, either your CRM or a CPQ system or someplace where a particular link was made between the customer and the presentation. And that's ideally where we want to begin the whole process, right? So I'm going to go back to my viewers world. And instead of staying here in Engage, I'm going to go out to Vendo. Vendo's been gracious enough to loan us a little demonstration environment. And what I want to show is that how did Dak Prescott get into that view in the very first place? How did I get his name associated with that particular session? Well, it was all done through my through the whole concept of the linking between a system like Vendo, where you can launch presentations directly from Vendo and add additional information to it. So this is the viewer's view of Vendo, right? He's gone through his inspection, gone through a configuration process, and ready to present that to the customer. Inside these systems, typically there's ways to add resources. And in these cases, these are links, these big buttons that say engage on them are links to various different presentations in the system. So for example, if I was going to present, I can simply click the presentation link there. And behind the scenes, Vendo tagged that presentation automatically for me. And as you can see, very quickly launched it. So I can go through my whole process and demonstration with DAC, and hopefully I can get a couple $1 million deal to replace all the windows in the quarterback star's house. Most important, when we talk about session management, beginning and ending sessions, when I close this presentation, it takes me back to Vendo again, and I've closed that session out. So everything I just did from launching, coming back to Vendo was all captured in that session. So that's another great way to look at the integrations that we have in place to handle some of these things with this tag information. So what that did for me is gives me the ability now to come into my reports here and be able to say, show me all the interactions we had with Dak Prescott was named. You can see I was doing some testing earlier today, but that's the idea, right? I have the ability now to actually add additional context because this was launched outside of Engage, and someone else told us what the context was that presentation is being used for. There's some other really cool integrations that people are doing as well. I don't have it up and available today, but there's a wonderful Rilla integration. So if you're using Rilla to capture the transcriptions in the voice, transcriptions of some interactions, Rilla takes these same analytics and relates the conversations that they're transcribing with the views on our side as well. So some really neat integrations they're doing there. We have some other customers who are pulling a lot of these integrations or a lot of these analytics back after they've done the presentations in order to get the analytics tied with their own CRM data or CPQ system data or other central reporting systems as well. Typically for your larger organizations where you have some central reporting, there's a lot of that integration work, but as a standalone, there's still an opportunity for you to use this as well in the system.
Yeah, definitely. If you folks are interested in learning more about any of those integrations, definitely reach out to our team. We'd love to have a discussion with you and show you how they work. Especially, I love the Rilla integration because I feel like you might have some sales reps who are trying to game the system, and they'll go through the talk track, but they won't necessarily show everything that you want them to show, or vice versa. They'll show everything, but not go through your talk track. You want to hold, right. It's all about accountability.
Right.
Cool. All right.
Well, where are we now? So that's analytics. Again, just a quick idea, two main concepts. Actually, you know what? I forgot something here as I was looking at my notes. Some new stuff. I had totally spaced. Yeah. So we added a little bit earlier in the quarter, the concept of a user detail report. A lot of people are familiar with the sessions report. This is just a very simple way to get a similar view that you see in the sessions report, but scoped down to a user. So very quickly, I can come in and see all of my interactions, all my sessions for this week or some time period up here as well. Just another easy way. A lot of people are going through the sessions and filtering and things like that. So we got some requests to handle it that way. The one that I'm really excited about, that I think a lot of people are excited about, is something we have in the works that I want to show you. Now, this is one of our development environments. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up over here. And what we've added, I'm going to go ahead and expand my analytics here, is the whole concept of the saved report. Now, again, as I talked about our publishing workflow as being a foundation. So there's many other things we can do with publishing workflows. Same idea, saved reports. We needed to find a way to basically save a report. So if I click on Save Reports, for example, you can see I've got the ability to save a particular report. And when I click on it, I can very quickly get that report up. So I don't have to go through the process of filling in all the filter tags, wait for all the data to come back. As you saw, it came back very, very quickly. So it's one of the huge advantages of Save Reports. Number one is quick, but also refining all of the filter criteria for you. Now, we're doing this now because we've had a lot of requests for all kinds of different kind of filters coming into place. And the more these filters there are to fill in, the more complex these reports become, and the need for saved reports becomes even more and more important. The other thing the Save Reports sets the foundation for is the ability for us to start doing emailing of reports and scheduled reports. So we did add, if you recall, to this the whole concept of PDFs, being able to export both PDFs and CSVs. Now we've got the ability created a save report. As our development team continues to add capabilities, we'll be able to start, building off of this to say, oh, okay, now it's easy enough to take a saved report and send the PDF version of that out to somebody on a regular basis. So we'll continue to build the capabilities in the system, but this is one of those foundational things we're working from. Now, Save Reports also has the ability to kind of do an update. So if I very quickly just wanted to say, I just want the Phoenix team here, and I can just go ahead and say, update that report. That now very quickly updated that report for me, so I can come back in here and see only those presentations done by that particular group. To create one of these Save Reports, simply going to one of the reports here, I'm going to go ahead and just set up some of my criteria. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some data for period of time here, just because this is one of our dev environments. And again, maybe we'll have our all the presentations viewed by the Phoenix team. So I can go ahead and save this report after I've created that filter. These are the presentation used by, whoops. And we'll create it. So that report's now created. Go back to my saved reports, and you can see our presentation views for Phoenix is right there. And again, very quickly, I can get back to it again. The nice thing is when I get to these views, I can go, well, I want to kind of see everybody here. So it doesn't mean that I'm locked into that view. I can certainly mess around and make some additional changes here if I chose to, and simply get back to the save report again, and then right back to the presentation, the view that I started with as well. So pretty cool stuff there as well from the presentation standpoint. So that wraps up.
Awesome. Well, Alan, we do have a question that came in about analytics integrations. This is about Lead Perfection. They're a CRM within the home improvement industry. And we don't have a formal partnership relationship with Lead Perfection. So this customer is wondering if there's a way that we can integrate with CRMs where we don't have, an out-of-the-box integration. Is there a way to get that going?
Yeah, let me answer that question by showing a little of the back end of Vendo, because a lot of these systems work the same way. What we're looking for is a specific capability that allows you to add a URL or the way to open another application from within something like Lead Perfection. The way Vendo does this, and the way a lot of companies do this, is through like a resource or a demo button or something. So that button I just pressed earlier that opened up and tagged the presentation, don't worry about all the details here, but they're going to give it a name and visibility and icons and images and things like that. But what's most important is the ability for the application to support what we call our deep link. This is the deep link that opens up a specific presentation. That's the gobbledygook at the end here. And it's telling us to open the application called Ingage. So as you can see, what Vendo is doing here is automatically putting that information in. And then I'm allowed to add the customer information or the campaign. This is what we're tagging that presentation with. So I'm tagging the presentation with the customer's primary name here. Vendo, again, does it a lot of different ways. You can do all kinds of different things. I could have the full name or just partial names, all kinds of things. But the idea is that you want the system to build a URL, if you will, a way to open up the presentation by adding that context in. So that's what we're looking for. More than happy to, if there's a conversation or a contact that you have at Lead Perfection, to talk about it. We have some engineering resources on our side who we can link up and work through things together if we need to. But it's a great question.
Great. Yeah. If you're interested in having that further discussion, we'll have some contact info up at the end. Definitely make sure to reach out to us. We'd love to chat. Well, I'm very excited for what's next, Alan. I happen to know what comes next in this presentation, and I think that this is a game changer.
What is premium content, Pam? Well, premium content is our development team, if you will's, a venture into marketplace and the premium and the content that's provided there as well. So Pam, a team of designers and some of our own manufacturer partners have been doing a tremendous job of getting content into our marketplace. And those are just really design, efforts and things like that. Where the premium content is really going to the next level. The premium content makes use of a lot of the other deeper, more technical capabilities built into Ingage, such as our HTML pages, some of the dynamic content information we're talking about, things like that. So what we're doing is we're actually creating a whole series of pages that have a lot more capabilities than even a designer could add to. So through some engineering efforts, through work with some of our partners, work through we're doing internally to more add some dynamic capabilities to the system. Premium content is now laying the foundation to really reduce that time to value. The idea is that you are taking content from Marketplace and configuring it. You're not really altering it or changing it from a design perspective. And I'm going to give you some examples in just a minute. But that's the whole concept, right? These high value pieces of content that can be very, very difficult to implement, but provide a tremendous amount of high value, such as a pricing conversation or a reviewing quotes or potentially return on investments. These kind of interactive kind of pages and things where you really want to have a lot of capability kind of condensed down. That's what premium content's all about. This is not out yet. This is something that the team is working on this quarter. I'm going to give you a demonstration here of one of the pricing tools in just a minute. But ideally, what we're looking at is either presentations, actual pages themselves, other kinds of content being delivered through our marketplace. So just like you can grab some of the templates today, you can grab other kinds of templates as well. And some of these will have different price points associated with them, depending upon where you're at in the subscription base within Ingage as well.
It's very exciting. I'm very excited, Alan.
Ready
I'm ready to see it.
Right. Well, let's start by just building out, one of these things, right? So let me go back to my company story. And we've already done some work on our company story already. We've taken advantage of a publishing workflow. What I'd like to be able to do is now add some of that whiz bang stuff. I saw Kyle's presentation last week about pricing and how to have the difficult conversations about doing price conditioning as well as other kinds of conditioning, with customers as you're going through that. And boy, I really think I'm ready to do that. So what I'd like to be able to do in my presentation now is add a whole new section that's really more geared towards the customer and their project. So I'm going to add a your. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab one of these wonderful templates. As I mentioned before, we're looking at delivering these through Marketplace, where you download Marketplace. And this may be one or more templates that are pre-configured for you that you can go in and then tune and adjust. I'm going to go ahead and take the very simple first one here. I'm going to simply grab that one. And what you're seeing here is not what I just selected, right? Kind of odd. Let me get back one level to show you exactly what occurred here. I added that page to my project, to my presentation, and it shows up with this nice little thumbnail as you would think about it. But because we're not actually designing on these pages, we're configuring these pages. When I actually go to do the configuration here, it comes up much more with a series of forms for me to fill out. So the premium content, as I mentioned before, is about configuration less than it is about design. It's about aligning the capabilities of the page and what we're trying to accomplish with the kind of content that's on the page with the conversation and your methodology you're using internally. There's no right or wrong way to have these conversations. The right way is the way that best connects you with your customer and ideally drives the deal the way you want to go. So what does this look like? So if I go ahead and just pop this out into the preview mode right now, I can go ahead and look at it. And these pages, as I mentioned, are very interactive. I can make adjustments. I can bring little pop-ups. I can show all kinds of different things. Well, the neat thing about this is I can come in and really kind of configure this to my needs. So now I know my methodology. Kyle's given me some great coaching. What I like to do is now kind of configure this the way I'd like to configure it. Now, maybe one or two or three of those templates I showed earlier align pretty close, but maybe not exactly. So for example, option one doesn't sound like a great title for a page. So let me go ahead and just make this simple pricing. So I can name things, price inputs. Sometimes we see projects being entered as a project total. Sometimes we see things like both the product and installation. So the work we've done to discover kind of how to build out these kind of templates and things that add a lot of flexibility for the input. Sometimes we want to see pricing and menus. Sometimes we don't. There's deposits. So a lot of flexibility to look and feel, basically turning on and off different capabilities. The number of offers that I'm providing, for example, I've got two here. I could add a third one. I'll show you in just a minute. But as it continues down here, I can configure discounts. So these are all the various discounts I may want to offer within this pricing page. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to use them all right now, but I can have various different opportunities here. If I want to, I can change things between product, project, installation, cash, even adjusting financing rates and things like that with various different discounts. I mentioned financing. Financing on these pricing pages is also available. So as you're having conversations with customers and talking about affordability options and maybe a monthly payment is somewhere they need to be, and you have a partnership with one or more of your financing providers out there, you can bring that content in and be able to use that on these pages as well. And then down to the various different offers. So market value and monthly promotions are two offers that I've added on here. So basically when I show the little tiles, it'll show them. And there's a lot of options here as well, where I can say it's visible. Do I want to show, be able to turn it on and off, and showing some of the financing summaries and things as well here. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of configure our monthly promotion. As I showed before, I have a whole series of discounts that I configured, and I'm going to add one of those. I'm just going to add our monthly promotion today is going to be our 15% off the total project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up to always be enabled. And so no one can turn it on or off. So these are things I can do to help the rep either have more flexibility or less flexibility, depending upon how I want to control that experience for them in the field. Let me just kind of back this out. I'm going to go back to our presentation library. And as you noticed, I saved that as a draft because I don't really know if this is right yet. This new premium content's pretty interesting to me, but I really want to play with it and feel it, see how it looks, right? So I'm going to go ahead instead of launching the published version, right? I'm going to launch my draft version now. And I'm going to get down to, there's my Your Project. Looks great. Wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and put in maybe an example amount here. I think you were talking about golf clubs last. We're going to talk about windows, right?
My
So this might be
lack of knowledge about golf was on display. It was great.
Yeah, so this might be the first entry point in the conversation. You've talked about products, you've talked about your organization, you're driving value every step of the way. Now we're talking about the market value for what we've decided or what we've come to agreement that your house needs. And we've come up with a project total and a quote. And as Kyle mentioned, there's a lot of different ways to kind of walk through these conversations, and aligning with your kind of methodology is really key. So in my world, we do monthly promotions. And as you saw, I can offer a 15% project total savings here. So pretty nice. The customer may go, great, it's wonderful. I could probably put down, $1,500. That might get things down a little bit. Well, I'd love to have that monthly payment down around, under maybe $150 or $200 or someplace if I could. Well, if that's an objection, I've got opportunity to offer you different financing options. And it looks like you wanted to be around that $200 time frame, under $200, $250. We'll go with this one here. And I can select that plan, and they can kind of see exactly where they line up. See if they wanted to put down a bit more, we can have the conversation of what that monthly plan would look like with more of a deposit or less of a deposit, or depending upon what else we're doing. So a lot of capabilities built into this thing. That's pretty neat. But let's fast forward. Guys in the field have been using this for a while, and now we've discovered, I really need to have some more incentives. I've talked to a lot of our customers, and a lot of them are referring for us, and what I've had 2 or 3 that are repeat customers. So what can we do to help be a little more flexible in the future as well? So again, instead of redesigning the whole workflow, what I can simply do is now go in and just reconfigure that page to add some more of the capability that's going to allow my sales guys to be more effective in the field. So I'm back in the editor, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another tile here, right? Or another offer, if you will. This is going to be my rewards programs. Let's call it that. I'm just going to copy over here. I'll label my reward programs. And I'm not going to make this visible by default because I want the reps to have some opportunity to kind of show this as needed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding in all of the various different offers that I want him to be able to have access to. So maybe like a repeat customer, we'll add that one in. We'll add in our military service. What else do we have in here? We can add, anything I want. We'll add referrals. I mentioned before. We'll add the whole Monty here. We'll go ahead and add a buy now as well. And now I can add some flexibility. So do I want these toggable? Yes. I want to be able to turn these on and off again. We don't offer any flexibility in our cash discounts for referrals, but military, we do give him a little bit of flexibility there. So I can give him an option to change that value if I feel like it. And then maybe the buy now as well. So I've added a brand new, tile here. We can go ahead and show the financing as well. And maybe I'll show that first plan as well, being that 36 month. And at this point, we'll go back out again and use our capability that I mentioned earlier, which was to save that draft. and go ahead and take a look at it. So right now, the good news is I'm not affecting anyone in the field because all of my changes, everything I'm doing is completely isolated to just where I am right now. So now if I go ahead and we'll put in our 15,999 and we'll start to look at our monthly promotion, that's great. But I know there's some rewards I can offer as well. So now I can turn on the rewards program and it looks just the same as what I saw with the monthly, but now I can work through that customer. I know he's a repeat customer. He's been a veteran. And boy, you know what? I'm going to give a little more flexibility, and I'm going to give him the 750 there. He doesn't have a referral, but he's willing to buy now, so I can give him that option as well. So now I can kind of really begin to guide that customer through a conversation that just talks about sometimes, which can be a number, hopefully that they see the value in, but just helping them arrive at an appropriate place to be when it comes down to actually, affording the solution we have available for them. Woo! Lots of stuff. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of flexibility built into these tools, as you've seen. I've just kind of scratched the surface here. And when we start releasing these, there'll be some different look and feels. This is just some of the prototype stuff we've done as well. But what we're really working on is the foundation and how to build very sophisticated kind of capabilities into this system without having to have a lot of design, need behind the scenes to be able to actually modify, change, update, and make use of these not only now, but most importantly in the future.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to call out is that these were not designed in a vacuum. They were designed in close consultation with a number of customers. So they've been built based off of customer feedback, the way that sales managers think about discounting, price conditioning, presenting price, and a lot of the guardrails that I know our customers have put in place in their sales software. So in their Paradigm Vendos, in their Leaps, and their one-click contractors around discounting, where you put a cap on it, they cannot discount beyond this particular limit. We do have that available in here as well. When you're putting your discounts in, you can cap them. So I know it's a big worry of a lot of the sales managers that I talk to is saying, hey, I don't want my guys out here just kind of making stuff up. I love how configurable it is to be able to put those guardrails in place so even the newest rep can have this conversation safely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. And, and as you mentioned, I think it's really good that you mentioned that, we a lot of conversation with customers and all the different worlds out there that they live in across the country. The one interesting thing is we're doing a lot of discovery was how different those conversations are in the Northeast, the Southeast, Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, West, Texas, California, very different ways people interact with each other, which is why we had to build a lot of flexibility into that particular tool.
I do like that Texas got its own regional call out.
Texas does its own.
Everything's a little different.
So wonderful stuff in getting, and you saw me hand entering that price into there as well. And so what I want to wrap up with, as I mentioned, was the kind of the future where we're headed with this. One of the challenges, as I mentioned, with the publishing workflow is just copying presentations and maintaining presentations. So we've done a pretty good job if you have a presentation that you're maintaining and managing. What happens when you have little bits of content that needs to change from time to time within a presentation? Or maybe would it be really cool if the rep didn't have to enter a price into that tool at all? Maybe we could get that directly out of another system, right? This is where we're headed with what we call dynamic content. I'm going to go ahead and add another page here just to kind of show some different capabilities. I'm going to grab a dynamic profile page, and I've added that. It's very similar to what I've done before. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that to replace my title page. Whoops, go ahead. Fingers are not working the way they should. And we'll just hide that page. And we'll go back to our company story again here. I'm going to go ahead and publish this one out because I'm going to show this in a couple of different contexts right now. So doesn't look very good right now, kind of a generic picture and some other text and stuff in there. Well, if I double click to view this presentation, that page I added was dynamically aware. It knew how and where to pull information onto the presentation based upon instructions that I did when I designed the page. So for example, my name is here, my picture's here. In the pop-up is my bio in the picture again. And as we'll see in just a second, I'm going to go ahead and slide over to our presenter here. And I'm going to go ahead and launch basically the same presentation. It's actually, you see behind the scenes there, it's downloading the new version that I just updated. So again, it's Engage taking care of the viewer for you. And take a look at that. So I didn't change the presentation. I just launched the presentation as a different user from a different place. And now things look a little different. First of all, we've got the customer's name in here. So we got Dak Prescott, and we've got Eric and his information, his bio, by mouse here, his bio information and things in here. Also, what's really cool, go ahead and keep that. Let me kind of get down to the project. We're able to push the amount across. So now I'm starting from a known place, right? I'm starting from a quote that I configured in Vendo that I worked through. I already did that work. And now I'll be able to kind of go through the same process I showed earlier, where I can put in the promotions. We can go through the process of adding different, information here, maybe relying on the customer's needs. We'll go ahead and just drop this to our 750 again, and be able to really kind of go through that process, right? What's also cool, as I mentioned before, if I go back, maybe I needed to go in and adjust that quote. Maybe we needed to take a door off or add some windows or something like that. These presentations are designed in such a way that, let me go ahead and just update our, maybe we got down to 10 for this guy. So instead of that $17,000, we're down to a little bit more than a little bit under 13. If I go back into my demo again, and I'll just go ahead and present the price page. Again, I can launch that presentation again and go right to that page and update that particular piece of information as well. So this is future. This is stuff the team is working on this quarter. We have some customers today that are actually using some of this in the beta form. We're working with some of our partners as well. As you can see, Vendo has been a great partner we've been working with to help kind of show how we can move information between different kinds of systems. But this is the future. This is really what Engage is focusing in on from a development perspective, because of what it offers from, again, going back to the time to value and the ability now not to have to manage multiple presentations. So think about things like the profile of a user being at the profile in Engage, or the profile of a team being at the team level Engage, or the profile of a company being at the profile level, company level Engage. The idea is we can design presentations, and then things like teams, users, and companies, or things external to Engage can inject that content in. So for Q2, we're working with text, we're working with images, we're working with some of the visualization tools out there to be able to take tools that are doing design work and bring that information directly in from those systems as well. So stay tuned from this, but I'd like to kind of make the awareness here, because as you're thinking about where you are in the future and redesigning presentations and where you want to go, we want to be there to support you. I want to make sure that we're aligning with your needs. So if there are problems, issues, concerns you think that that dynamic content could help you with, please reach out to the product team. We'd love to have the conversation. As I mentioned, we're building these things this quarter. We've got a pretty good idea of what we're doing, but we're always customer centric and very happy to listen to folks' ideas and problems they want to solve out there. So that wraps things up for me, Pam. I'll slide us back over to our presentation and any Q&A.
Yeah, I think the big thing that has come in questions is just around how to get access to some of the stuff that's coming. It's coming. We will definitely let you know as soon as these premium pages are available and as soon as dynamic content is available. Do not worry. We will let you know when it's coming. You will hear many, many times from us that it's here. And then we had a couple more questions coming in just around who do we integrate with? If you are looking to do those analytics integrations, highly recommend reaching out to your Engage account manager. They'll be able to either get you the documentation to get it set up if it's an integration that we currently have, like Gorilla Voice. That integration is actually pretty easy to get rolling right out of the box. And if it's a more complex one or an integration with a software platform that we don't currently work with, they will go ahead and facilitate getting that introduction made over to our partner team and our product team. So we'll be able to get cracking on that for you. Always the big questions are, how do I get this and when can I get it? They're coming. This is also your reminder to please make sure that you do keep your application up to date. You don't actually get access to any of these great features if you don't use the latest version of the application. So just make sure that when you're logging in, you update those apps. I actually have to remember to do that today. I signed into Engage this morning and was like, wait a second, I haven't updated my app. So I'm going to do that as soon as we sign off. Alan, can you take us to the next page just so we can put some contact info up? We do have a survey here. So whether you're on live or you are watching this recording, it would be great if you could fill out this survey for us. We want to get your feedback on today's session, as well as on other sessions that we've done. We have done some really fun content, such as our summer camp series last summer and our ski chalet series back in January and February. We want to make sure, though, that we're talking about topics that are relevant to you. So, are you interested in seeing more about how to create presentations? Are you interested in learning more about sales enablement, about sales methodology, about best practices for sales rep training? Are you interested in talking more about marketing? Whatever you want to talk about, we want to know. So, please go ahead, scan this QR code with your phone, fill out that short survey, and it will let us know what you are interested in hearing about and help us to tailor our coming sessions to your actual needs and your actual learning desires. So let's go to our next page. If you are not a full Engage user, so if you get engaged through like one of your manufacturers and you are interested in getting a full demo and seeing the full capabilities and being able to take advantage of things like the features that Alan was showing us, definitely go ahead and scan this QR code. It'll get you in touch with our sales team. And of course, as always, if you need to get in touch with us, feel free to head to our website. That's the engage.io part prior to the demo. And you can go ahead and contact us through there. You can access our knowledge base through there, and you'll be able to get more information on some of these functions and some of these features. Well, I think that is everything that we have today. Alan, thank you so much for being here. This was a packed session. We had a
Oh,
lot of content. Like I said at the top, if you were not able to join us at the beginning, or if you had to leave early, or if you have friends and colleagues who were unable to join, that's just fine. We're going to send out this recording. It should be in your inbox within the next 24 hours or so. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
thank you.